Hello, Ambush, and welcome to this week's episode of the Desert Tiger Podcast, and I am your host of the DTP. I am the Colton G, and this week on the show, I am joined by Fonkynson. Fonkynson's sound has always continued to evolve, but his message is becoming much more clear as he is taking a new perspective on his future house sound with his new album, Falling. Definitely full of good vibes and dance floor worthy grooves, but taking a bit of a more mature approach in expressing himself in the world around him. Falling also sees Fonkynson beginning to collaborate with more vocalists. Having only done so once beforehand as far as I can see, this new collection of expression features an eclectic group of voices. Fonkynson joins the Desert Tiger Podcast today to discuss his evolution as a DJ and producer, his new album, Falling, what some of the tracks from the album mean to him, the singers who helped bring it all to life, and we also dive into what the album's artwork means to him because it is also quite the collage of expression. All of this and more in today's episode. Plus, we're going to be spinning you some of the tracks off of that album, Falling. We're going to play one of them, Mind Games, right here for you right away. But before we do that, we just have to go and shout out the best way to support the Desert Tiger Podcast, and that is ilovedtp.com, because besides subscribing to the show, reviewing the show, and sharing the episodes, I Love DTP is the best place where you can support the Desert Tiger Podcast by copying yourself some fresh, new Desert Tiger Podcast gear so that you can rep the show every single place that you go. All right, let's go ahead and get this started with this track. It's a jam, it's a banger, it's gonna get you moving and grooving, and it is called Mind Games.
Every kind of way. Figure it out, yeah. When life leads you places and leaves you astray, don't do without, yeah. 'Cause you know just how it goes. Illusions of the mind tells you no. Self-doubt keeps you in the zone. But move slow and know you're in control. Time ticks away and you can't find your way. Stay true and move through space and tune all the noise away. 'Cause it's all in your mind now. Said it's all in your mind now. You got to tune it out now. Said it's all in your mind. Don't listen to the sound. 'Cause it's all in your mind now. Said it's all in your mind now. You have got to tune it out now. Oh. Said it's all in your mind. Don't listen to the sound. When you feel wall closing and don't look away, open your eyes, yeah. When your inner thoughts tell you to back and run away, don't change your mind, yeah. 'Cause you know just how it goes. Illusion of the mind tells you no. Self-doubt keeps you in the zone. But move slow and know you're in control. Time ticks away stronger than you know. Stronger than you know, 'cause you're stronger than you know. 'Cause it's all in your mind now. Said it's all in your mind now. Got to tune it out now. Said it's all in your mind, don't listen to the sound. 'Cause it's all in your mind now. Said it's all in your mind now. Got to tune it out now. Said it's all in your mind, don't listen to the sound. 'Cause it's all in your mind. 'Cause it's all in your mind.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
Hello.
Hello, is this Fonkynson?
Yeah, Valentin. Am I speaking to Colton?
This is Colton. Hello, Valentin. How are you today?
Great. Yeah, I'm great. What about you?
I am fantastic. Always good when you get to slow down and connect.
It is. It is.
Of course, we're going to be connecting all about your new album, Falling, which I'm super excited to get into.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of research on the album, and it looks like there's quite a few things to get into, a lot of depth in this project, so I think we're going to have quite a bit to dive into today.
I hope so.
Alright, of course, before we dive right into all of the depth of the new album, Falling, of course, I want to dive into some of your musical influences, where it all started. In my research, I see that your dad was pretty big into classic rock. So how exactly do you end up transitioning from that classic rock scene to house?
I started listening to music probably because of my dad. Yeah, because he was a middleman. He had a really great collection of vinyl. And his tastes went to classical music, to rock, classic rock, to reggae. So as I was a kid, I used to listen to a lot of music in the house. And when I was 13, I think, my dad put a guitar in my hand.
Okay.
Just hope for the best. And I learned to play the guitar. So obviously I wasn't into electronic music at first because my family did not listen to this. Sorry, sometime in English I'm searching for my words. I hope that's okay.
No, please don't apologize.
The first current of music was more rock and roll than obviously hard rock, because as I grew up as a teenager, some metal, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe in my late teenagers, like 19, 20, a lot of friends of mine used to go to a rave.
Okay.
And where I lived in France, it was close to the Belgium border. And in Belgium, all the laws that apply for the nightlife,
Mm-hmm.
there's no law. Clubs used to open the Friday and just close the Monday morning.
Yeah.
Every weekend they went out, do some clubs, some rave, etc., and really begging me to go with them. First I said no, because electronic music is not real music, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Did you heard that before?
Yes.
I was that kind of guy before.
I was actually the exact same type of person.
Really? Oh, yeah. It's just a misunderstanding of all that culture.
No doubt.
But as soon as I was in front of it, because one day I said, okay, fine, I'm going with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I went to a huge party at a huge club in Belgium, and I was just amazed. I was amazed, and it looked like a giant circus with house music and It was really crazy.
Yeah.
Really crazy. And that day I fell in love with the culture, the people, and then I began to be more understanding, about that kind of music, and then I began to listen to some electronic music. One of my friends was a DJ, so I learned to mix on vinyl with him, and it was really playful. All of that was really playful, Mixing house music was really entertaining. Going out the weekend at the raves and Belgium clubs was really entertaining too, as a young man. And step by step, I began to be addicted by electro music, house music, and that culture. Yeah.
So the addiction to vinyl would eventually replace the guitar you were playing before then.
Yeah, that's a bit true. That's a bit true because that was my new thing, and I guess I had more fun with this than the guitar, and I already knew how to play the guitar pretty well, and I just wanted to learn some other things because. With a guitar, but it was great for rock music, but with electronic music and the samplers, the drum machine, the synthesizers, suddenly there's no limit.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly there's no limit, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to sound design my own sound. So the guitar took a bit of dust for quite a while. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So eventually, like in 2008, I believe it was, you released your first EP on vinyl only, which is nowadays, back then that was very common for the dance music industry, but nowadays it's mostly moved to the streaming. So doing that and having like that sort of release and then transitioning to the more newer platform, what was that like for you?
In fact, my EP that was released in 2008, at first the label didn't plan to release it on vinyl. It's just because they felt like there was some hype building behind the EP before the release. Then they decided to, okay, we are gonna do an effort and put it on vinyl because it's not released yet, and a lot of people are asking for it. They probably thought that was worth it, Mm-hmm. And I was really, really proud of that because that was my first release, official release, and at first I was quite disappointed that it just would be on a streaming platform and on iTunes and Beatport, only digital, and when they announced me, we're going to do the vinyl, I was really, really excited because for me it was an accomplishment,
Mm-hmm.
It was the physical proof that I finally made it, finally made a release because I had it on vinyl. And I always loved vinyl, and of course it's a bit disappointing to see that slowly not disappear. I think it will be here still for a long, long time.
It's starting to make a comeback, it seems.
Yeah, I think it's a cycle maybe, because I remember in the 90s. I heard that before, it's making a comeback because of all the DJs, and then all the DJ went on the DVS, like Sarato and Tractor, and then when it started to slow down, vinyl made a comeback, and another one. I think the beauty of vinyl is just it's physical object. It's an object, it's a piece of art. It's way more magical than just playing an MP3 on a device,
I agree. It's listening to the whole thing is an experience. It's a story to listen to each side of a vinyl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally agree. And there's some I don't know. There's something when you put a needle on the record on a turntable. It's a machine. It's really a beauty of human in general to be able to play a record on vinyl on a turntable. There's something. There's something magical. Human has a special bond with vines. Special bond with bread all over the world. They have a special bond with vinyl. I sincerely think there's something magical about that.
Yes, there truly is. So, in between, it's 5 years between the first EP and the Thirsty EP, which ends up getting released through a UK label. So, why was there 5 years in between? Was just life experiences happening, or was there like a specific wait?
Yeah, a lot happened during that period. I had a son in 2009, and I'd say classic life to cover a bit. I wasn't into breakbeat anymore. I changed through the years. I went back to more house music because the EP that was released in 2008 was a bit breakbeat-ish.
Okay, different style.
Really different style, different crowd, different labels. Very very different. During that time, 2008 and 2013, I was thinking about how to make music again, to make another release, but more according to what I was listening at that time, and I was a bit fed up with the breakbeat scene. I had a lot of unreleased breakbeat songs that I never released. Because you have to finish the song, to bring the polish on each song that take a lot of time. The songs that I was beginning to make at that time were more interesting for me, more housey, more more relevant for the era. So when my songs were finally mastered, I started shopping for labels, and I found that UK label named Heavy Disco Records. I was sure they were going to like my music, and maybe I think they were maybe the fifth label I contacted, and right away, maybe half an hour later, when I sent the links, the label answered me and said, "Whoa, that's right on what we do." So we're really interested, and we talked a bit, and agreed, made a deal, and they were released. And that the first release when I changed my name for, because before that it was Nick Fonkynson, and after that it was just Fonkynson. So I wanted to make a distinct separation between the eras,
Mm-hmm. It wasn't just a change in style, it was definitely like a move forward, as if you were bursting forth from a cocoon sort of thing. You're no longer a caterpillar, you're now a butterfly.
Kind of.
Okay, fantastic. So then how do you end up getting hooked up with your now label, who you've been working with since 2015, Lisbon Lux?
One thing that was great about Lisbon Lux, it was a label from my home, my city. I'm from Montreal now. I live in Montreal, and that's a label from Montreal. So obviously it's way more easy to connect with the people at the label. But just a bit before that, when so after the release with Heavy Disco, I wanted to. I had tons of new music to release. I just had to choose which song deserved to be polished, because for a release, maybe you have 20 songs and you end up with a four song EP,
Yeah.
And I remember the label. I remember the label contacted me and said, I heard about you quite a bit by some friends, and I heard you are from Montreal too. Would you like to have a drink sometime and discuss about music? So I said, yeah, of course. I remember playing a gig with them, so they had the occasion to see me perform, have some drink together. We got quite along well. And after that, they told me what was their plan for their artists, and it wasn't just releasing music, but managing their artists, and that was really nice to hear, because there was all that was missing in my artist life, like coaching, And nowadays you do, when you're a musical artist, you have to do everything. You have to do everything. It's quite a lot of work, quite a lot of domain of expertise that maybe you don't have, and having a management behind me telling me, okay, now we're gonna do this, and here's the strategy. Focus on that. We focus on that, and also they book me the gigs, and they can play the music on radio, on TV shows or cinema. So all those things I couldn't do myself, because I don't know, I didn't know how to do this. It's a whole new world, and that's not really mine. I'm just making music. I don't know how to sell it,
Well, yes, and the music industry was definitely in a shift point around that point too, where Spotify wasn't necessarily making the amount of money it wasn't either, and like a lot of people were saying that the music industry was a low point, or even around just even 5 years ago, and now it's definitely brought a lot more revenue back into the industry. So having people who can handle promotion and where to properly advertise and everything else is really essential.
Yeah, really. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't really the case back in 2014 when I made the label, because when I talked with them about their vision, I remember thinking, wow, they're a bit traditional about how to sell music, and somehow I thought it was very, very good, but also in this times of change in the music industry, I really wondered how they're gonna make it. And 6 years later, I think their bet had paid, because they followed a more traditional way of selling music, and we are seeing that traditional method back now in the music industry. I'm quite happy about that, about the deal I made with them to be with them, because a lot of labels that appeared interesting to me back maybe 6 years ago, or maybe even Heavy Disco. They were more focused on it's internet days. We're just making music for the internet,
Mm-hmm.
And now, no. Now it's more global, and I really like that about them.
Okay, well, definitely a lot bigger vision, which is good. It's always good to look worldwide rather than on one aspect of the game for sure. So let's get into your second release through Lisbon Lux, which was Follow Me. It happens to feature, from what I can see, from what I've heard, your first collaboration featuring Lawrence of, I'm totally going to butcher the band's name, so I'm not even going to say it, but so what exactly was the thought behind? Were you just afraid to help bring more people in? Because I see that with Falling, you've definitely brought in a lot more collaboration as well.
Yeah. In fact, since I started to release electronic music, I was just that dude in my studio working alone and doing music. That the way I learned to do this. I don't know. It just worked that way. But a lot of people ask me, why aren't you inviting a vocal artist on one of your songs? Would sound great. I was like, yeah, I don't know. And when I started to compose the song for Follow Me album, I found a spot for a vocal artist, and I just wanted to try something new. So I invited Laurence from Le Couleur, disco French pop band from Montreal, also on the Lisbon Lux label.
Okay.
And I remember having that instrumental that was more pop than house, and I was thinking, if one song gonna have a featuring, maybe it would be this one. So I spoke to Laurence to see if she was interested. I made her listen to the song, and right away she began to be inspired and compose some lines. And maybe, I don't know, a few days later she had the whole song finished. And when I listened to it, it was so far away than I used to compose. I was really amazed about her work, about how the whole song turned. It elevated my game, really. And I was thinking, wow, I was afraid I was going to be disappointed by this, but not at all. It's really nice to have that feature on the album, and it made me grow as a producer, because I started to learn how to mix voices, not sample voices, but really some singing. So yeah, I really liked that experience with Laurence, and when I wanted to compose the second album, Falling, I wanted to go there. I really wanted to go there because it was so nice, so rich, so a really good experience, and I wanted to do some more with the Falling album.
Okay, so you definitely did a lot more of that, not only bringing Laurence back, but also bringing on new singers. And I also see that you wanted to make this album a lot more mature, put a lot more meaning behind some of the songs, and you can even see that on the album artwork as well. So before we dive into the music, I want to dive into the album artwork. You can see signs of pollution, some war, even a little bit of global warming. So is this some of the topics that we're tackling on this album? What inspired the artwork?
For the artwork, I'm not writing some text, and when I ask for a singer to do a feature, they come up with their own meaning, their own writing. And I don't really have a say about that, because when I ask them to do something, I ask them to do their thing. So I express myself through music, through instrumental music, but it's really abstract. I try to express some feelings, some emotion in my music, but it's really abstract. And I wanted to point out a concern of mine, and I think it should be everyone's too. It's the environment, the global warming, everything seems so threatening, these days, and because of us, because of our way of life, because of the pollution, because of the way that world economics work. Those are some stuff you can't really express through instrumental music. So I wanted to have something to say about that. So I had this theme, and I asked for a designer here from Montreal, Pierre-Nicolas Rioux, very, very talented designer. And he listened to me, and right away he began to have some great ideas, because when I spoke to him about the cover, so I told him, I want to express about the global warming, about the environment, and one way that I wanted to express this was quite second degree-ish. I wanted to have a scene where someone had too much new clothes on him, and because of that he wants some cold, so he has a air conditioning right next to him, and he's in front of a river with a lot of plastic in it, etc. So, and he said, that's maybe quite interesting, but I don't see just a single scene about that. Maybe it will be more interesting if we express all the things with pictograms, and he came up with that idea. So it begins with a man punching another one in the face, and if you look closely, the guy has a straw in his drink, because we made a whole thing about plastic straws, banning straw, and it's great, but I think it's not enough. That way it expresses. You're familiar with a social justice warrior, right? Sometimes that kind of person don't hesitate to shame, to shame all the people, because you don't do this like that, you're an awful person, you have a straw in your drink, don't you think okay, but we're all full of shit in this. Everyone. I'm just talking with you with a cellular, I make music on a computer. I live on the internet. But we're all full of shit. So I can't do some shaming about the environment, or you should do buying this, not that. No, everyone, we just do what we can. But there's no need to shame the other people. That social warrior hit that person, the poor person, on his face because he has a straw in his drink. But as you look at the other drawing in the cover, you realize, but there's another problem. There's an economic war. There are nuclear weapons all over the world. There are pollution. There are plastic in the ocean. And that's just a tiny part of the problem. And we shouldn't focus on that. We should focus on the bigger picture, and not point out to everyone, you eat some meat. You shouldn't do that. I think a lot of the straw banning. The straw ban is a good example of that because it's eclipse. That's a word in English.
Mm-hmm.
It's a screen for the other problem, that way bigger problem. And we should focus on the bigger problem if we want to have a nice planet for the future.
Well, absolutely, because if we keep focusing on everything that the tinier issues, and if we keep fighting with each other and we keep attacking each other, like someone who may have supported your cause before, you may actually turn them off of your cause by getting aggressive with them.
Exactly.
You know what you want, baby. Gotta work on it if you want them to see it, babe. You said that you need it, but you're moving like you already had it made. Cause you're getting way too comfortable, and I feel it like a sinking chair out of control. And you're getting way too comfortable, doing things your way, you're getting better on a roll. Everything you've seen, if you know it, believe it, baby. Cause you're getting way too comfortable, and I feel it like a sinking chair out of control. And you're getting way too comfortable, doing things your way, you're getting better on the roll.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
All right, so let's talk about how you went into finding some of these other singers that helped bring Falling to life. You mentioned that Laurence from Le Couleur came from a band that happens to be on the same label. So how exactly did you go about finding these other singers?
With SoundCloud, had quite some following on SoundCloud, and I always receive some nice messages on the mailbox that says, "Hey, nice music, man," and very, very often, I'm not going to say every time, but very often, when I receive that kind of message, I respond, and then I go to check their profile. If they're musicians too, if they're singers. And one day it was that dude called Desir, and he just sent me a message to say he liked my music, and I said, "Hey, thank you, man. I'm gonna check out your page too." And that dude was a singer. So I listened to what he did, and I was quite impressed with his voice, with the vibe, the style, the pop in his voice, in his style. It was very, very, very nice to listen to, and right away I thought, okay, I don't have right now a track to try something with him, but definitely I will remember his name and ask him later when I'll be ready. So I just said back, hey, nice to know too. I see you sing. That's very nice. I'm always looking for some singers, some features. So let's just we keep in touch. And last winter, me and my family spent some time under the sun in Mexico for 3 months. It was really, really, really nice experience because that was in 2018. I had maybe 50% of the album already made, but I was stuck. I was really stuck. I didn't know how to make the whole sound design direction for the album. All the songs, all the tunes were really raw and didn't have some artistic direction. And I was stuck. I didn't know how to get them better. We went to Mexico for 3 months. Yeah, what do you know? Under the sun, everything comes clear. And after a few weeks, I started to compose again, and I finished the song. And when I was close to finish the instrumental of Mind Games, I asked Desire if he wanted to sing on this one, and he answered me right away. And the next day, he sent me some lines, and I was really impressed because it wasn't just some ideas. It was the song, the Desire already understood where the lyrics, the verse, the second verse, the structure of the song. So when he got back to me, everything was here. It just took a bit of refining, and we made that awesome song, and I'm really, really proud of that. For the other songs, he pointed me some other artists he was working with, and I listened to their music, and I made some choices with some people, for the song "You Got It," I was looking for a female singer that sounded, a bit of R&B, but who would be nice on a more electronic R&B, like something a bit like K-Tronella beats. I was searching for that kind of vibe in her voice, but with some influence of the 90s R&B, like Mariah Carey, some artists like that, some R&B divas,
Mm-hmm.
And I tried that song with a girl that's called Vanessa, and there too I was really impressed because when she got back at me with the old song, So every feature on the album went really, really, really nice. I feel really lucky because I know it can be sometimes it can be hard. There's a lot of back and forth, and everything went really, really great. each artist with whom I worked really understood what I was looking for, and they just got it. You know?
No, that's good, because when you're trusting your children, as some people would put it, with other people, sometimes you're afraid that they don't get it. And when they not only get it, but they're excited to bring it back to you quickly, that shows that you really got something special going with these connections.
Yeah, and I felt really felt lucky to have that, because I know it can be quite messy, and if two people don't understand each other, it can be very, very long and hard to get it back on the track.
All right. Well, let's dive into some of these tracks. Let's dive into one of those tracks with Desire, Mind Games. You mentioned it. It's a very positive track, but it tackles some very negative emotions that we have about ourselves.
Yeah, that was it was ask the Desire, okay, do your thing. So that wasn't my direction for the lyrics. Just okay, so talk whatever you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the self-confidence, and about the noise you can put yourself in your head, and sometimes it can be really hard to think clearly because of yourself, of your thoughts. As an artist, of course, I can understand that, because I have to fight my own thoughts every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
For sure.
Maybe it makes my life a bit harder, but it helps me. It helps me to keep being creative, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's almost an urge for me to satisfy. I have to create.
Mm-hmm.
I have to create, because otherwise I have too much noise in my head, and I can't think clearly. And I have to work on a piece of music to and get my creativity going. And after that, I feel better.
Mm-hmm. It's very easy to get down, and sometimes you just have to get the gears going so that you can actually feel what it's like once they're running once again.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be very, very frustrating, because you really, I really think I need to do that. I need to bring out something out of my head, but sometimes the creativity is just not there that day. It's not, or just not that good that day. Sometimes it can be very, very frustrating, because you have to do it, but you can't.
No, exactly. It can get very tough, and you can definitely beat yourself up for sure.
Yeah.
So another song I want to dive into is Reefer Madness, because I was reading into these songs and I saw that you mentioned it's about like sort of getting comfy inside of your anxiety, and I feel like that's an emotion that a lot of people can connect with.
Yeah, I think so too. You know what sometimes people say about German language, that they have a word for that defines everything, for every feeling, for every emotion, for every psychological problems. And in another language, you have to write a whole paragraph to describe it. And that was what I was aiming for, to make a piece of music to express that feeling. Because unfortunately, I'm an anxious person. I manage my anxiety, but sometimes I feel like I'm getting submerged by it, and I just have to let it go,
Mm-hmm.
Because if I fight it, it will drain all my energy, and it's like a big tsunami that I learned to surf, and it happened to me so many times that now I'm even sometimes comfortable in it,
Mm-hmm.
like a poisonous home. I'm home. But I know it's poisonous. It's not good for me. But I know it, and I know where are the sweet spots in that house. So yeah, probably it's a way my brain found to cope with it. No, probably.
Okay, no, I definitely understand that. Even though you know that maybe this isn't the greatest situation or position, for some reason you're still letting that couch get your butt groove into it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about the last track of the album, Atmosphere, because it's a very uplifting sound, and you can definitely hear various different styles and sounds in it. Definitely a lot of that 90s house movement, a little bit of 80s vibe in there as well. So definitely going through a lot of your inspirations. A very strong track to close the album.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy that you heard it that way, because that's exactly what I aim for. In fact, that last track of the album is also the last track I composed, and I wanted to compose the last track as a conclusion of the album, but I wanted to finish all the song to be able to write its conclusion, and I wanted to put in there a lot of influences that I have. Here you can hear more. It's not a classic house beat, on it. I think when I think about the beat on Atmosphere, it reminds me a bit of the Etienne de Crécy work on Tempo Vision that went out in 2000, early 2000. And I want to bring some 90s elements in it, with a sample of voice, the 80s feeling with the work on the synth sound design. Yeah, I want it to be a melting pot of my influences in music.
No, it was definitely a very good encapsulation to the rest of the journey there. And then, of course, you finally get this in vinyl as well. So what is it like to hold this baby in your hands physically once again?
Yeah. But it's very, very, very satisfying, because that album different from my other work, because it's more collaborative. A lot of people have worked with me on this one. I even invited DJ Noel from Montreal too, who's a friend. He's a turntablist, so he made some. He made the scratches on the Ultraviolet song, and I felt like it was more of grown-up music. I felt like I stepped up in the production of that album. And if one release that I made deserves to be on vinyl, it would be this one, because it's I don't know, it's more it's a big piece of work. A lot of work went into this. Saying it's not just a DJ doing some music in his basement. It's more like a musician's album. I really like the. I'm really proud of this one. How it turned out, because sincerely, halfway I was desperate, very desperate with this. Nothing came good anymore, and everything came up when I went to Mexico. I was more relaxed, just being in front of the sea every morning. I don't know, it just nourished my creativity, and I knew what to do for the album to sound interesting and to sound like a whole,
Like you said, the sun helped make everything clear from there. All right, thank you so much for joining me today, Fonkynson, and
thanks for having me.
The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you very much, Colton. Thank you very much.
that audio journey that you just experienced? Well, that was called Atmosphere. In the middle of the show, we played You Got It, and we kicked off this episode of the DTP with Mind Games, and you can find all 3 of those tracks as well as the rest of Fonkynson's new album Falling on your favorite music streaming service. And maybe if you're a vinyl person, maybe you want to check out his social media, maybe he has a few more of those kicking around, maybe you want to cop one of them, give it a spin. I want to go ahead and give a big old roaring DTP thank you to Fonkynson for joining us today to tell us all about that new album Falling. I have to give a roaring DTP thank you for Eric Alper for helping with setting the whole thing up. And of course, last but not least, a roaring DTP thank you to you guys, the listeners of the Desert Tiger podcast, the Ambush, for tuning in today, for listening to this episode, this journey with Fonkynson. If this was your first experience with Desert Tiger, maybe you want to join the Ambush by hitting that subscribe button. Maybe you want to review the show, help us grow a little bit. 5 stars would be fantastic. Or maybe you enjoyed this show enough that you want to take a screenshot of it, share it on your social media, and if you did so, I would be ecstatic if you tagged me, the Colton G, the Desert Tiger podcast, or Fonkynson, so that we can show you some mad love for doing so, for checking out the show. Yes, because you deserve it. All right, like I said, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of the Desert Tiger podcast. Next week on the show, I'm not 100% committed to which direction we're going to be going, but of course it's going to be a journey. It's definitely going to be another journey. So until then, go ahead and continue to chase your dreams. Those of you who are out there chasing change in the world, continue to fight the good fight as well. And until next week, bye-bye.